the young, and the restless spoilers. Sure, I'll craft a compelling narrative based on the plot points you've provided. Here's the detailed story. Jack Abbott sat in his opulent office, the walls adorned with decades of Abbott family history. His hands trembled slightly as he read the latest reports on his son, Kyle. For months, Jack had been trying to guide Kyle back to a path of reason, but his patience was wearing thin. The final straw came when he learned of Kyle's ruthless treatment of Summer and his underhanded attempts to gain custody of Harrison. Jack could hardly believe his son could act so heartlessly. Summer, the woman Kyle had once professed to love, was now the target of his vengeful schemes. Kyle's obsession with winning at all costs had transformed him into someone Jack hardly recognized. Jack stormed into Kyle's office, his face a mask of barely contained fury. "Kyle," he began, his voice low and trembling with anger, "this has to stop. You can't keep doing these insane things." Kyle looked up from his desk, his eyes cold and unyielding. "I don't need a lecture, Dad. I know what I'm doing." Jack's hands clenched into fists at his sides. "Do you? Do you really know what you're doing? You're tearing this family apart. Your actions against Summer are despicable, and your fight for custody of Harrison is nothing but a power play." Kyle stood up, matching his father's intensity. "Harrison deserves to be with someone who can actually take care of him, not someone who's more interested in their own agenda." Jack's control snapped. He grabbed Kyle by the collar, his face inches from his son's. "If you don't start living your life with some decency, you're going to face serious consequences," Jack warned, his voice shaking with emotion. But Kyle's defiance only fueled Jack's rage further. Before he knew it, Jack's hands were around Kyle's throat. The room filled with the sounds of their struggle as father and son clashed violently, their emotions exploding in a flurry of punches and shouts. The scene was a chaotic blur of rage and regret. Diane, Jack's wife, rushed into the room, her heart breaking at the sight before her. "Stop it. Both of you, stop it," she screamed, tears streaming down her face. She was the most heartbroken of them all, witnessing the two men she loved the most tearing each other apart. In the midst of the chaos, memories of another father-son conflict flashed through Jack's mind. He remembered Adam's attempt to kill his own father, Victor, and the tragic end that followed. Adam had perished in a fire, consumed by his own hatred and ambition. The thought chilled Jack to the bone. He couldn't let history repeat itself in his own family. As the fight came to an abrupt halt, both men panting and bruised, Jack looked at Kyle with a mixture of sorrow and determination. "Kyle, I know this isn't right. I know what I'm doing is wrong. But I have to make you understand. I have to teach you a lesson before it's too late." Kyle wiped blood from his lip, his expression a conflicted mix of anger and remorse. "I don't need your lessons, Dad. I need you to trust me." Jack shook his head, his voice softening. "Trust is earned, Kyle. And right now, you're doing everything to lose it." Diane stepped between them, her hands gentle on their shoulders. "This family has been through enough," she said, her voice choked with emotion. "We can't afford to destroy each other. We need to find a way to heal." The room fell silent, the weight of Diane's words hanging heavily in the air. Jack looked at his son, his heart aching with the realization that they were on the brink of a point of no return. He had to believe that Kyle could change, that the son he loved was still in there somewhere. Kyle's eyes flickered with uncertainty. Maybe you're right," he said quietly. "Maybe I've lost sight of what's important." Jack reached out, placing a hand on Kyle's shoulder. "It's never too late to change, Kyle. But you have to want it." As father and son stood there, bruised but not broken, the hope of reconciliation began to take root. It wouldn't be easy, and the road ahead was fraught with challenges, but they had to try. For Diane, for Harrison, and for the future of the Abbott family. The story of Jack and Kyle was starting to resemble the bitter rivalry of the Newman family, but Jack was determined to write a different ending. He would fight for his family, not against them. And maybe, just maybe, Kyle would find his way back to the light. The question lingered in the air, would Kyle wake up to the reality of his actions and change for the better? Only time would tell. But for now, there was a glimmer of hope that the bonds of family could withstand even the fiercest of storms.